How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to take a look at this Midnight Movies double feature, and we're going to be talking about The Haunted Palace. The Haunted Palace, or sometimes called Edgar Allan Poe's The Haunted Palace, from 1963. This is produced and directed by Roger Corman. It stars Vincent Price, Debra Paget, and Lon Chaney Jr., so some pretty good big horror names in this movie. This is actually based on two different things. In part, based on the poem by Edgar Allan Poe, The Haunted Palace, but also, and more prominently, based on The Case of Charles Dexter Ward by H.P. Lovecraft. And I suppose I should explain that really quick. Roger Corman made a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe movies, and he wanted to change things up a little bit, so he adapted an H.P. Lovecraft story. However, when the studio got a hold of it, they're like, yeah, we like the movie, but if it was a Poe movie, it would sell more. People like your Poe movies. Let's just change this and make it into another Poe movie. So this is a little bit unofficial in the Corman Poe series. But what they did is they looked at the movie and they looked at Edgar Allan Poe's poems and they said, hey, this movie has a haunted palace in it. There's a very short Edgar Allan Poe poem called The Haunted Palace, and it's very atmospheric and it's similar to the atmosphere in the movie. So they found a poem that matched, and they had Vincent Price at the beginning and the end of the movie read sections from the poem to kind of frame it. And yeah, Vincent Price reading Poe is always great. So even though the Poe element was an afterthought, I still think it fits actually pretty well. So yeah, kind of an unofficial, very, very loose Poe adaptation. Really more the secret first Lovecraft film, you know? So later on, Lovecraft would be a really big name, you know, especially when you had Stuart Gordon. But here is his start, and it's a really good movie, you know? To see a 1960s movie pull off, you know, some Lovecraft stuff, that's always really interesting to me, you know, seeing them do all the stuff that would be so prevalent later on in the 60s. You know, a 60s movie where they talk about, you know, breaking open portals and the Necronomicon. That's always really cool. So yeah, it's a weird, interesting situation, an unofficial Poe Lovecraft team-up. But yeah, I mean, look at all those names you got now. You know, Vincent Price, Lon Chaney Jr., Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe, and H.P. Lovecraft. That's nuts. But anyway, without further ado, briefly talk about the plot of this movie. No major spoilers. But what happens in this movie is we open up with a ritual. Vincent Price is in his basement. He's got a girl chained up, and he's about to perform this strange magical ritual when the villagers show up. So he gets the girl down and he takes her to the front door. Oh, she's just visiting. Everything's okay. But the villagers see through this and say, no, she's here, but her mind's gone. So they grab Vincent Price up and burn him at the stake. And as he's burning, he vows revenge on the descendants of all the people who did this to him, you know? So, yeah, early in the movie, Vincent Price is dead, but don't worry, Vincent Price fans. We're gonna get a second Vincent Price. You see, Vincent Price in this movie also plays his ancestor, his great-grandson, about 110 years later. He walks into the town of Arkham, where he says, hey, can someone help me find my house? I inherited this house from my great-great-grandfather, and when the town of Arkham sees him and where he wants to go, they get very angry and they clam up. I really do like that, you know, angry villager trope. "You should just get out of here, sir." And they try to send him away. You know, everybody's clamming up, and on top of that, Arkham is strange. And one of the ways it's strange is it has several mutants in it, and a lot of them are missing their eyes. So what's up with that? Why are there's so many mutants, and why are they seemingly attracted to new Vincent Price, Charles Dexter Ward? Well, the one person in town that doesn't really hold anything against him, who says, "I want to be sane and rational," is the doctor. And the doctor shows him where their house is, and he'll come by later and talk to them and explain a bit of the lore. You see, Vincent Price's great-great-grandfather was one of these 3 warlocks, and they were trying to use the Necronomicon to open a portal for the old gods, giant, unfathomable monsters, to break through into our world and take over. And all the mutants were a result of them taking women from the village and impregnating them with half-human, half-old god, and in turn, you know, the offspring would come out all messed up, and that's their descendants out there still to this day. And when the village found out about it, they went down and burned your ancestor at the stake. But of course, now you show up, and now you look just like him, and they're afraid that the old warlock is back and up to his old tricks. But he's not back yet. Emphasis on yet. The longer Vincent Price stays in his ancestor's haunted palace, the longer the oppressive force of his ancestor will wear away at him until he starts to possess him. Luckily, Vincent Price has a really strong will, and he can't just possess him really quick. He keeps trying to force him out, but as time goes on, the great-grandfather's control is more and more, and he can't really, you know, break free as much. But he's wandering around the palace, and he's like, "How did I get here? What happened to me? Am I losing my mind?" And the wife is like, "I don't know what's happening to you. What's going on?" So, a few things here. This is a pre-Exorcist possession movie. That's pretty rare. Also, we're dipping into cerebral horror. What's going on? Am I losing my mind? Where was I? That's pretty cool as well. But anyway, as evil Vincent Price starts to take over, we do even get scenes that are like a slasher movie, where he's going and getting his revenge on the ancestors, and you know, he burned, so they all have to burn. And you get some pretty cool, intense sequences, and it all builds up to a really big, fun finale, you know, one of those nice, over-the-top, classic horror movie finales. It's really, really cool. And on top of all that, you get to see both sides of Vincent Price. The hero Vincent Price and the villain Vincent Price. And we get them both in the same movie this time around. And it's really fun to see him switching between the two. Vincent Price, such a great, very classic horror actor, and this is a good chance to see, you know, the range in him, you know, the nice Vincent Price who would never do anything wrong. He's the one you see as the hero in lots of movies, and then the over-the-top villain Vincent Price who loves to have his maniacal laugh. It's really, really cool. But, you know, as I was saying, this movie, H.P. Lovecraft's first movie, and it came out really cool. Like I said earlier, it's just fun to see Lovecraft tropes like those creepy, eyeless villagers wandering around in a 60s movie. The sets kind of have the feel of like a Hammer set, you know, really big and elaborate. It almost feels like a really nice stage play at times. He has his castle, a big haunted palace with even a secret doorway into the basement, and the basement is big and gothic. You know, Vincent Price can chain up his prisoners and read the Necronomicon down there. And then the town, you know, big, empty town, all the villagers scowling at you. You know, it's like a Hammer film with a bit of old-timey Americana in the sets as well, you know? And I do like, it's like, you know, the castle's even odder. They imported it brick by brick from Europe. So, yeah, I thought that was really cool. But steady build-up, things get weirder and weirder. The evil one gets more and more control. It builds up to a good finale. And yeah, lots and lots of tropes, you know, possession movie before it was popular, losing my mind, and also, you know, the resurrected evil trope, the you killed me but now I'm back. Lots and lots of just classic horror elements in here, making it a really solid first Lovecraft outing, and more would come, you know. Corman himself would produce the Dunwich Horror, and you would get Die Monster Die later, and then eventually Stuart Gordon with Reanimator and From Beyond and Castle Freak. Yeah, Stuart Gordon would make a bunch later on, and nowadays there's a ton of Lovecraft stuff, and it's really great, and it really all started here, I think. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my H.P. Lovecraft playlist. I've reviewed the new movie The Deep Ones recently, and the Nicolas Cage Color Out of Space. I did the 70s Dunwich Horror, and I even did the heavy metal H.P. Lovecraft tribute issue. So, if you want to see me talk about more Lovecraft, you can see it in this playlist that should be about to pop up any time now. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Lovecraft playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.